So on the drive home, I thought I'd do something different to give back to everyone that's been listening to the music lately, and I do appreciate it. Everyone's been on the SoundCloud recently, and yeah, very appreciative. Positives, a lot of likes, a lot of shares, also a lot of listens, which is the main thing. And the track at the moment that's getting a lot of attention is the mix of Inez's "My Love," or as Charlie and I have called it, "My Habibi." So that's what's happening at the moment. But I thought it'd be nice to give back just something different, just a personal thank you. And this will be on my YouTube channel, Nick Nova Music, and it will be also on Nick Nova Music on SoundCloud if you're listening to it at the moment. But if you do want to see the visuals, do follow me on YouTube, Nick Nova Music. There'll be a link in the description. Do check it out. I sometimes post music on there, and sometimes it's tutorials. Sometimes it's just the whole rundown of tracks, breaking them down. And if you're wondering what I'm doing at the moment while I'm focusing off camera, it is because I'm playing FIFA, and I thought it'd be something to do just to relax and pass the time whilst having a chat with everyone here. But in saying that, I thought it'd be nice to just talk about some of the good times I've had out at clubs or events in general, because we had the DJs Rock the Boat party the other week, and then we also had Beat Corp's Pure Energy just the other day, which was a very good night out for everyone involved. It was a fantastic event. It may have somehow made its way to the news publications, but that's being dealt with behind the scenes, and I think the other people know that they've done wrong, that they should not do what they did. But we're asking the media to behave and be ethical. That's never going to happen, because that's not how the media plays their game. But in any sense, it was great, and it got me thinking back to just nights that I've enjoyed through Energy as a youngster, or just in my career in general. And I'm thinking the first one that springs to mind is Temple of Dance 3 at UN Sydney in 2007. I'm 99% sure it was 2007 when Temple of Dance 3 was held at UN Sydney. It was the Sunset Brothers, DJ Frantic, aka Adriano, and Wills, Mr. Glenn Wilson. Fantastic fella, fantastic gentleman they are, both of them. Helped me a lot through my early career as well, and also through the 2010s, when we had to move from UN and venture further up Oxford Street to Havana Club Deluxe, which ended up being the new home of DCM or UN, whatever it was at the time. I can't even remember that clearly, but it was a while back, let's just say that. And that night, I'd never experienced anything like it before in my life. I mean, I would have been 19 years old, still fresh into the DJing scene. I turned 18 in 2006, so I would have been 19 at the time. And I was just so buzzed to be going. I knew Adriano, or Frantic, through 3 years prior, DJing together at other venues like Veranda Bar, Universal, I think Space as well. He might have done a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. But it was through the energy scene that we actually got to know one another. So they do hold a place in my DJing career. So forever thankful to Adriano and also Wills as well. I can't actually remember the first time I met Wills, but one of the nicest, most humble fellas you will ever meet. Wills is proper gentleman. So props to you, good sir. But this, I mean, in 2006, that was my club debut, and I ended up playing at Veranda Bar for an event called Gelato, and I was DJing with DJ Aja at the time. So if anyone's listening to this and they remember the DJs of the mid-2000s, DJ Aja should be no shock name to hear. He was on the cards at Veranda Bar alongside Steve Play, Benino G. Who else did we have? I think Frantic did play at Veranda Bar every now and again. It was one of the places you would go to for energy when you didn't have you didn't have the drive to go to DCM or to go to any other club. You would go to Gelato, which was where people went most of the time. And it was a nice little venue, Veranda Bar on Elizabeth Street. Up the stairs you went, up the escalators, and 2 rooms. You had the main room and the back room. So you had mostly energy, if I recall correctly. But to cut a long story short, it was the same night that they had Temple of Dance 2. And I remember driving past Oxford Street on that night, and the line was around the corner past the convenience store or something, whatever it's down the road from there. It was jam-packed, a lot of people. The line was just, I couldn't even describe it. It was like when you play Snake, if you remember Snake, it was like when you got over 1,000 on the score and you had to frantically just try and maneuver the snake so it doesn't hit itself or hit into the wall. That's what it was like. It was just ridiculous. We had another big night as well at Veranda Bar that night, my club debut. I think it was end of June or mid-July. I know it was winter though. I remember that much. It was either June or July, one of those periods. So I remember for Temple of Dance 3, I was DJing at the Greg Adams Bar, the Gab Bar, which was somewhere next to the Hilton Hotel on George Street, if I remember correctly. That's where that was. In saying that, it was also another night where I was just buzzing to... the camera just changed. Better up my lighting. There we go. Where I was just buzzing to go because I could not wait to go there. The plan was to go there, and at the time as well, I was also doing a radio show on not on the decks, Club Nation it was called, on Friday afternoons from 4 to 6 on 89.3 FM, and that was sort of like a takeover from On the Decks, which was Tuesdays and Fridays from 4 to 6, and Tuesdays became the Trance Show, and Fridays became the Energy Show, and I rebranded it to Club Nation, and I was doing that at the time, and that sort of helped me get into places a little bit because I had the radio spread, and this is before the days of podcasts and internet radio. We still actually did it live from a studio in Liverpool, and it's still there. And good people do run the place, and I still have recordings of live shows, actually, come to think of it, so I might pull those out at some point in the future. But yeah, that's what helped me get in, and I remember leading up to it, I think I was giving away tickets as well to Temple of Dance 3 through the radio show, through promotion. So I'd play a track and I'd get people to call up and try and guess the name of the track or something like that, and they'd get their name on the door, and everyone was happy. It was all good and well. I'm pretty sure I had the boys come down as well at one point. If it wasn't for that, it was later on in the years. I know they came around 2008 or 2009 on the show, so I do recall that. But yeah, this night for Temple of Dance 3, I was just buzzed. I mean, I finished playing my house set at the Gab Bar, and I walked from George Street down to Oxford Street. When I got there, there was still a line. Went to the front. I'm pretty sure Neil was doing door at the time. Neil Cummins, if anyone knows, he's if you went to UN or DCM and you said Neil, the security guard, 100% you know who he is. Top fella, very, very nice bloke. Shout out to you, sir, and all the best on your upcoming podcast on the Secrets of the Underground, which is, I think, hopefully coming out soon. I'm actually looking forward to hearing that, so there's a free plug for you, sir. But I remember I was a skinny, scrawny, 19-year-old, baby face, no facial hair, nothing whatsoever, mullet cranking, and he's looking at me, and I'm just staring up at him. I'm thinking, fuck, this guy's not going to let me in. He's going to think I'm underage or something, and he looks at me. He goes, "How are you, bro?" I'm like, "Yeah, good, thanks. I'm just here to go inside. You know, I've got a pass from George," and George Mihailovsky was running the nights there at the time. He looked at me. He goes, "Oh no, worries, off you go." And I'm like, shit. I was panicking, man. I was so scared. I couldn't believe it. I had gone there a few times before that. I first went in 2018. I'd gone multiple times since then, but I thought this was going to be one of those one of those nights they're going to be special. You just know they're going to be special. So I walk up the stairs, and I'm walking up the stairs. I can hear just the vibrations, the resonance cranking, the coat check halfway through the staircase. The lady there, she was just having a great time. People on the stairs, at the top of the stairs as well, just hanging out. And when you walk in, you see people at the front, and I go there. I'm like, oh, hey, my name's Nick. I've got a pass from George. I'm part of the Club Nation radio show. And they were scrambling. They couldn't find anything, no recollection. I thought, oh, fuck, George has done me over here. I thought he's absolutely shafted me. I look like an absolute idiot. They're going to think, who's this kid trying to get into this club here when he's jam-packed inside? I mean, I hadn't seen the main room, and I could already tell it was jam-packed. Like, I just thought to myself, I can just imagine this place is just uninhabitable. Anyways, you get to the front. They had no idea. I'm like, I've got text messages, I've got them here. I'm showing text messages from George, like, yeah, it's all good. They're like, oh, yeah, but I don't have you on the list. I'm like, but it's written right here, like, it's on my phone, and all that sort of shit. But eventually I was let in, and it was a relief. And the first thing I did was try and squeeze in through the crowd on the right side. So if you remember, when you walked inside, you had the left doors, or the left archway, and then the right archway. And then on the left, you had the house room. And then on the right, you had the red room, where everyone used to go and hang out and chill out. And that's where you find people normally around 2-3 a.m. just in no man's land. Let's just put it that way. Very interesting conversations as well, it has to be said. But it was that moment there. I remember that's what was going on at the time, so that was fun. But you get through the archways and you walk inside, and there's literally no room to move. I've got a DJ bag on me. I've been in there all of 5 minutes, and I'm absolutely sweating bullets. And I thought, fuck, I am never going to squeeze in here to meet the guys. I've never met George at the time. I had not met him. I knew Adriano. I think I was just fresh to Wheels at the time. But they're in their zone. They're absolutely cranking. I mean, this is the time when they had released Love Parade, Shake It with Insomnia, That's Hot. Wills's I Love You was, I think, a couple of years old at this point, or maybe a year or two old, and that was the big track at the time, and it still is, man. I mean, if you're at Pure Energy the other week, you would have heard it. I think Charlie played it, and then Dave played a version of it as well, and it just went crazy because everyone knows that it's an absolute anthem now. So I remember that was that period there, the Temple of Dance 3 period, 2007. And I get inside, and this place is... The term packed like sardines is overused a lot. This was like a tin of sardines, about the size of a phone, yeah? A tin of sardines, but picture sardines 50 times the amount in a normal can. You could not fucking move. The condensation in this place was ridiculous. You stood still, you're instantly sweating. You move around, you are sweating. Like, there was no ifs or buts about it. And I finally managed to squeeze my way in, and I signaled to George. I'm like, hey, George, I'm Nick. I'm from the radio show. And he's looking at me, and he had no idea what was going on. He just looks at me and goes, hey, Nick Nova. I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, come in. Talks to the secchi. He goes, yeah, he's all right. Gets me in there. I'm sitting behind the DJ booth with George. Adriana and Wills are playing. It's going absolutely crazy. People are virtually hanging off the DJ booth at this point. Everyone is just going mental. There was literally not a empty space on that dance floor, in any corner, at the bar, in the top section. Like, there was just nothing going. There was nowhere to move. I'm not exaggerating. Nowhere to move whatsoever. If you were there, by all means, please comment. Let me know what your experience was like, because this thing was like nothing I'd ever experienced before in my life. So I get there, and you could still smoke in clubs at this point. 2007, I think you could still smoke in clubs. And I remember George is there holding his ciggies in one hand, his phone in the other, and he's just going absolutely crazy. He's got a little bit of a mullet cranking at the time as well. I think Adriana had a mohawk. Wills had a mohawk as well. So it was nice to see that was the hairstyle of the times, has to be said. But we get there. They're going absolutely crazy. I think I tried to say hi to Adriana when I caught him on a break. And he looked at me and he just saw me and just gave me like a hug, and his shirt was dripping sweat, and I just had it all over me. It was disgusting, but you're like, fuck it, I don't care. This is amazing right now. You just did not give a shit at all, because you were there in the moment. That's what it was. It was just the moment. You just wanted to experience that. It was just fantastic. So he was looking at me, gave Wills a bit of a handshake as well. And the place has gone crazy. I'm sitting behind the DJ booth. I think I captured some videos on the digital camera, because phones at the time were shitty, like 144p quality. The audio was shit. You could barely make out anything. It sounded distorted. It's 2007. It was what? 14 years ago now. Long time if you think about it. 14 years ago, 2007. We're in 2021 right now. But that was back then. And the boys are going crazy. It's all good and well. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock. Don't know what it was. And then all of a sudden you just see a group of 2 or 3 blokes in black shirts just start walking in front, clearing the path. And I'm thinking, what's going on? And I forget, this is the big return of Alex K. So Alex K, for those that don't know, I mean, he is the end-all be-all for me when it comes to energy, in general, not just in Sydney, basically anywhere. I mean, there's a reason why he's been so successful doing it for so many years. But this was his big return, because when he was in Sydney, he always played at Rogues and some other venues, was never really prominent at DCM as far as I know. And when he went overseas in 2003 or 2004, I think it was, he absolutely bossed it in the UK scene with pleasure rooms and all these other places as well. So he was very well loved over there. I mean, the guy spent 2 or 3 years there, and full credit to him. He worked hard. I mean, the guy's superstar when it comes to energy. Everyone knows him all over the place, and it was just like, wow, Alex K's coming back, and it was just something that we were just hanging for it, because we hadn't seen him in 2 or 3 years. So anyways, a group of guys in 3 black shirts, or guys in 3 shirts, start clearing the path. And then you see Alex pop out of nowhere, and I was just like, holy shit. The last time I saw Alex was in 2003 at an under-18s in Bexley or some shit. Like, I couldn't remember what it was, but I remember he was there. He was playing. Steve Play was DJing as well. Adriano did as well. Adriano would have been a 19-year-old at the time, I think, in 2003. So I recall that, because he started with Alex K's Gotta Be Love. That's one thing I remember. And then Alex K jumped on. It was the last time I saw him. UN for Temple of Dance 3 was the first time I saw him in person as an adult, as a person over the age of 18. And seeing him for the first time in a nightclub, it was just like, wow. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It was just like, wow, Alex K's in front of me. And the good thing was that the lads he was with were some of his very best mates, Andy Kieran being one of them. Shout out to you, Andy, sir. The funniest mofo I know. The guy makes mix CDs or mixes now whilst playing FIFA and pumping a cigarette at the same time. I have no idea how he does it, but shout out to you, sir. And they had these t-shirts said Alex K Crew, and had Alex K, and then the crew was with the K, and it had the DCM logo on there. And it was just one of those things where just like, this is pretty sweet. So it was a big deal. And it was already ruckus with Sunset Brothers playing. I mean, when Wills dropped I Love You, I swear to fucking God, I thought this place was just going to absolutely shatter from the roars. I thought the amount of roar that went through this club, the walls were going to shake, the foundation was going to crumble, everything was going to turn to shit, because these people were about to lose their fucking minds. And man, did they, because when I Love You drops, when that riff kicks in, after she says I love you, and you just hear the da-na, da-na, people were absolutely losing their shit. Not only that, once the beat drops, fuck, I got goosebumps thinking about it right. Fuck, I just got goosebumps thinking about it right now. Like, shit, man, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was in awe of everything. I just went, holy fuck, what is happening in life right now? Never forget that drop. I got goosebumps, man. If you could really see my arm, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. It was fantastic. And then Alex is ready to jump on, and people can see Alex getting ready. Everyone's geeing him up on the microphone. Aiden's there doing the lighting work. Shout out to Mr. Aiden Walker as well, the man behind the lighting at DCM and UN. I think it went dark and the blinders came on, and we introduced Alex K, and it was just wow. I mean, Alex came and absolutely smashed it to bits. It was 3 a.m. maybe I think it was about 2 a.m. when Alex jumped on, and everyone lost their collective shit. It was like they'd never seen it. It was like, the way I'll probably describe it, it was like if Alex K was the Beatles in the 60s. Like, everyone knows Beatlemania, when people lose their shit when they just saw the Beatles. That's how I would compare it. Like that's the equivalency of Alex in 2007. It was compared to what the Beatles would have been akin to in the 60s. I mean, it was just an absolute fucking joy to see him there. So anyway, he jumps on, and he starts absolutely tearing the place down. He's playing Hands Up for Detroit. I think he just re-released Happiness at the time. I think he had A Piece of Heaven, maybe around that same period. I'm not too sure. But he's just playing Alex K banger after banger after banger, and it was just awesome. I was standing behind watching him from the front. I was just in awe. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was just like, wow. I was fucking mesmerized, man. It sounds corny thinking about it now, but honestly, at the time, that's literally how I felt, man. I just, there's no other way to describe it. So Alex is there doing his thing. Everyone's losing their minds. It was awesome. Alex is wearing his trademark bandana that he had at the time, with his long hair. Now he just tends to wear a hat most of the time, but back then he had the bandana. And it was a sweatbox. Alex's hair's dripping. I think I've got photos of him actually mid-mix. Come to think of it, he's wearing, I think, a Mossimo or a Mook shirt or something, and Andy and the boys are wearing the Alex K Crew shirt. Adriano and Sunset are just rocking out behind. Adriano and Wills are just rocking out behind him, and everyone's just having the best time. So once Alex finishes, I think he played an hour and a half or something. Once he finishes, I think Stevie B jumped on with Captain Kirk or someone. I know Stevie B played back to back. Was it Stevie B and Mickey D or something? It was something big. I just remember it was Stevie B and someone else. I can't remember who it was exactly, but I remember that he played. Again, tore the fucking house down, man. Stevie just played an epic old school set with whoever was playing with, and there was another DJ who played Close. And keep in mind, 2007, you could still smoke inside clubs. You could go in and out of clubs. There was no lockouts. There was no minimum on drinks. You could pretty much be free so long as you weren't acting like an absolute dickhead or being an absolute bitch. So we just kept on rocking out, go in and out. I remember having a chat with George. I was just like, this is unbelievable. It was like, I felt like I was at a rock concert, man. That's the only way I can describe it. I was at a rock concert and I was just having the best time. So I think it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Next DJ goes on, and we're still partying. This place is still full. Normally, I would have left probably around about 5 a.m. Or would have been like, oh, I'm getting a little bit tired now. I've got to drive home or catch the train back. And at the time, I was leaving my car at my grandparents' house, who lived in Kogarah, and I was catching a train to the city and then training it back, sleeping over, and then going home later that afternoon on Sundays. But for this, I tell you what, I got back to my grandparents' house at about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and my eyes were just wide open. I just had the maddest adrenaline rush. And I don't take substances. Full disclosure, hand on heart, I don't take substances. I was not drinking. Obviously, because I was driving, I would have been on P's at the time, so there was no way I was going to do something to jeopardize my license coming back from the city at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning. So people are still partying, I'm going home. I remember I got Macca's breakfast at the time. I got back home. My mum's like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you back? What's going on? Like, I thought you would have stayed with your grandparents. I'm just like, man, I just had the best fucking night of my life. I watched Sunset Brothers, I watched Alex K, I watched Stevie B, it might have been DK1, Steve S, Mickey D, probably DJing closed set. I don't know what it was, but man, it was just one of the most epic nights I'd ever experienced in my life, and it's still up there as one of the best nights I've had in a nightclub, whether I was DJing or just being a patron spectator. Nothing will compare to Temple of Dance 3. If you were there, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. It was one of those moments you just do not forget. Props have to go out to George Mihalovsky for organizing the event and promoting UN DCM at the time and making it as good as it was. David Freeman, who was basically managing UN at the time. Big shout out to David Freeman, of course. Also to the DJs that were involved. You also had the likes of, as I said, you had Tass was DJing at the time. Maybe Charlie Brown was playing house or something maybe at UN at the time. Steve played a few times, I think. It was just a period where you just absolutely loved going to a nightclub, because doesn't matter what night it was, does not matter who was DJing, you just knew you were going to have a great time. The music was going to be spot on, and you could go from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. no problems whatsoever. There were some nights at Havana later on down the track that maybe were near there. You'd have Alex K headlining. I actually, there was a moment when I played before Alex at one stage, or I played after him a couple of times as well. Sunset Brothers. So that was nice. I'd open Energy at 12 midnight, play for an hour, and Alex is playing after me. So that was a kind of a buzz, a bit of a rush to be playing before and next to your idol, like the person who you look up to from the age of 12, 13, when you first realized what Alex K is, what Kickin' Hard is, just the music. It was just very cheesy, very corny thinking about it now, but back then it was just, do not care. You just wanted that buzz, man. It was just all about the tunes and just watching your favorite DJs play. Did not matter what you played, didn't matter who played it. It was literally just, this music is off its guts. Nowadays, it's sort of like, if they're not playing a hit, no one cares. You want to be playing tracks that people enjoy, that people love. That was the beauty of it back then as well, because you could play a track that you didn't know, and people would lose their shit. Like, I think about it now, imagine Wills never playing I Love You because no one knew what it was. It sounds ridiculous to think about it, but just imagine Wills never drops I Love You, and we never have that classic anthem that we have now. We don't have that classic soul riff. We don't have those vocals, that bass line, that build up, the drop, the sirens. We have none of that if he just didn't play what he wanted to play to the crowd at the time. It's a little bit harder now, I do think. It's hard to play tracks people don't know, that they don't recognize, because people may be a little bit, adverse to listening to new music, or they feel a bit odd if they don't know what they're listening to. Whereas back then, 14, 15 years ago, you just played whatever was good at the time and people loved it, man. They went off. And I do think we need to go back to that basic. I think that's something we really need to do and do it well. Again, just play some good music, get the patrons into it. If they respond, keep it going, man. I think a lot of people are scared to play new music. Yours as well, Dave Austin will attest to that. When I was hesitant to play my remix of Broken Bones at, I think it was Pure Energy in 2018, I think it was. I played down in the change room. I was nervous to play Broken Bones, and I played it, and one person straight away came up to me with Shazam. He's like, I can't find this song, what is it? And I looked at Dave, I just went, is this guy for real? This guy wants to know what remix this is that I'm playing? So it was nice to see that there is an appreciation out there for music, and there definitely is. It's not to say that there isn't. It's just, I think it's very different these days with social media, how it operates, what's good, what's determined to be good, what's determined to be bad. And I know KCB as well, another person who I consider a good music colleague and friend, actually made the point that, back then, some DJs played certain music because that's what they were given, and that's why you looked up to them and said, yeah, if he's playing it, I trust it's a great track. Nowadays, it's like, what track's he playing? I don't know what this is. It's like there's no trust anymore when it comes to picking the music. But I've diverted a lot away from the whole Sunset Brothers thing and Temple of Dance 3 with Alex's return in 2007. But that was just one of the most memorable nights I've had in a nightclub. Music-wise, atmosphere-wise, everything. I think if people listen to this and they were there and they look back and they actually reminisce and remember that night, I think they'll agree that it was one of the best nights that they would have ever experienced at UN, DCM, whatever you want to call it, even for an energy event. I think in recent memory we've had some great events, but this one, for me personally, is just special. Like, there's no comparison. Temple of Dance 3 for me is up there in the top 5, maybe top 3 for me, best energy events I've ever been to. So props to everyone involved: Sunset Brothers, Alex K, George, David, everyone at UN at the time, all the patrons, the DJs, the bar staff, security, Mr. Neil Cummings. I salute you, sir. Yeah, it was just a great night had by everyone. I was just I wish I had a time machine to go back to that night right now. But it is what it is. And with that, I'll wrap it up. And I've spoken for about 30 odd minutes now. So thank you for watching or listening if you listen to this. And once again, just thank you for the support, liking the tunes, listening to the tunes, sharing the tunes as well. There are a lot more events coming up in the near future. So just keep a lookout on the socials. You can follow me on Instagram at Nick Nova _AU. Also SoundCloud, Nick Nova Music. YouTube, search for Nick Nova Music. The links will be in the description below. And of course, follow me on Spotify as well. Search for Nick Nova and look for this ugly mug on there, and you can follow the official releases, as it were, on SoundCloud. And special shout out to Nick Skits as well for getting those signed for me. So thank you very much, Nick. But with that being said, that's it for this one here. Thank you for joining me on Story Time with Nick Nova. And until the next story time, you take care.